Welcome to Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions on Wolf Spirit Radio, Ever Beyond Radio, and Studio 9 Jam on YouTube. With your host, Jessica Ariel Morocco, featuring JP as the voice of Andronicus. Please visit www.readingsbyrael.com, that's A-R-A-E-L.
From the future, by way of the past. I bought my ticket for the 15th century. We started moving through a hole in history.
You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Everyone, and thank you for joining us today at Answers from the Universe. I'm looking forward to a really good show today. We have a lot of information to share with everyone, and I'm happy to be here on a Monday instead of a Thursday. And hi, JP. How are you?
How are you doing? Did you want to put on Manic Monday then?
Well, maybe we should put on Manic Monday.
Yeah, and because. It is a bit of a manic Monday. Probably you're scribbling. I mean, I'm getting like 8 people on Skype sending me messages all at the same time.
Yes.
All day.
Yeah. What is that? Yesterday was the most intense day. So many people contacting me. I had about 5 intentions to leave the house.
All right. Yeah. One of those.
Didn't accomplish one of them.
Oh no. So.
Anyhow, yeah, just so let's listen to Manic Monday, and we'll be right back. It's more than a Manic Monday. It is the Andronicus Monday. So, we have a lot to discuss today, and I just wanted to remind everyone, if you're interested in our private Facebook group, you're welcome to join us. Always in harmony and abiding by the law of love. That means mutual respect, freedom of expression within parameters of not, going to a point where it becomes an argument. But anyhow, and those that want to discuss freely about these topics that come up on our show. And we also do a Zoom room once a month, and get to meet each other face to face and get to know one another and come up with different ideas and expressions. So, it's a great community. I'm happy to be here and glad that others are joining in. I wanted to also share that I just recently did a video. I'm on Max Steel Show weekly, but also on occasion I do videos elsewhere. So I did a video on James Rink's show, Super Soldier Talk, and that is available now, and had a few responses to it, which is interesting. So, there's all different kinds of conversations. One never knows where it's going to lead. And I've also had 2 other videos on James Rink's program earlier with Peter Berger, so those are available. And anywhere else that I go, it's just different perspectives of things that come up. Also that, I don't know, JP, do you know anything about this pink moon? Because I was thinking quickly about having Thaddeus on, but it was too short a notice.
Well, hang on. There comes the mic. There we go. It is the first full moon after the spring equinox, and therefore it's Passover.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why they call it a pink moon, but it's interesting because it's about mid-April coming up, and I think I might have mentioned it. Almost all of my friends and my particularly ex-partners, their mother was born around this time of year. The 16th, 17th, 18th of April. Very strange little coincidence. But the other thing about all of these women that I knew, they all loved pink. That was their main expression. Now, I don't know, because also I have Venus at that point and my moon. Actually, I'm getting a moon transit soon. That should be quite interesting. Anyway, well, Moon Day. Here we are, Monday. I wonder if it's the day. I bet I'll go and have a check later. But yeah, so Pink and Aries, and see, the younger Aries women I know like it's a dark red that is almost like a dark pink. It's like a, almost like a blood red, arterial, venous blood red. Mm. And, but, the older ladies, the mother ladies, they like the higher frequency pink. And I'm saying, like at least 6 or 7 people.
Wonderful.
My little sample.
Yeah.
There. So anyway, I don't know, pink moon. Why is it pink moon? It's the spring. I don't know.
But it does fit on a Monday, doesn't it? So.
So is it today? Yeah. Is it full moon today? Oh, jeez.
I don't know. It's supposed to be the pink moon tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Oh, it comes along really quick these days. Time whizzes by. We seem to be spinning faster and faster as a planet.
Well, I was on Max and Nicole Steele's show last week, and they had Brad Johnson on there. Brad Johnson was channeling Adronis, and I just want to let everyone know that Andronicus is not the same as Adronis. Adronis is Brad Johnson, that's his higher self. Andronicus is another being altogether, and I believe, if I'm correct, Adronis is a collective, but so anyhow, there's the difference there. I just wanted to make sure to define that in case anyone's confused. And he started channeling before I did. Although, I don't believe there's any overlap. I believe it's different content altogether. So, just to let people know.
And welcome back. Yeah, sorry about that. We just seem to have a complete cut for, I don't know, it's 5 minutes. I just thought, all right, well, it's a chilled Monday then. I'll just sit and drink my coffee until my internet comes back. So there we are. We're back. It only takes a couple of minutes, but
I think they didn't like the Adronis comment.
Maybe they didn't. Yeah,
I don't think they did.
I was just about to say,
it's the truth though. It's the truth. We gotta speak the truth.
Yeah, well, Adronis is not Andronicus, and we just have to be aware that there are these similar sounding names. Now, Andronicus also comes from Andromeda. Mm-hmm. And there are 2 Andromedas. There's an Andromeda galaxy, and there's an Andromeda constellation. And the constellation has the planet Zenite, which is where Alex Collier's contacts come from. Mm-hmm. Now, Andronicus might actually, does he come from this galaxy, or does he come from Andromeda galaxy?
Andromeda galaxy.
Right.
Yep.
So they're different from Alex Collier's Andromedans, that's why. That's what I'm saying. Interesting. So, just consider that there are like a trillion billion planets in the Andromedan galaxy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so we seem to have. I don't know. There's a lot of different overlaps, but I think there's a lot of people that are sort of connecting to specific ones for specific types of information that's necessary, and not everyone relates to one thing. So it's good to have a variety, or it kind of brings in other perspectives. So that's why, I don't feel that there's any reason to be competitive in this arena, that there's something for everyone. And there are times when people are overlapping. Doesn't mean, necessarily people are repeating or copying their content, but it's, some of the language and information might be the same. Now, in the process of listening to Brad, he brought up Sirius A, and I have been having a private class with only a few people in the class, and we began channeling, or I began channeling someone who came in by the name of Arasmus, and it's a female being. And as we started to talk, maybe about 6 weeks in, that we discovered that she was from, and we need that dun dun dun, The little sound effect, JP? Okay, from Aldebaran. She turned out to be from Aldebaran. And so I ended up asking Andronicus, did he know Arasmus? And he did. So does that mean he participates in what Arasmus does? Not necessarily, but just having an awareness of the name. And so anyhow, and it really wasn't bad. I mean, we're looking at Aldebaran in a different perspective, and also the idea of that I was there in that time as a part of the Vril, and I'm not condoning anything that relates to what happened, the horrendous acts of crime against humanity there over in Germany at that time. But I believe I was used as a seer, and this is my karma here, is using my gift to help people and making sure that things get corrected. And so, my name was Sigrun, and when we figured out, I think JP, you helped me figure out what my name was, and as we looked at it, after we looked at it, that Sigrun was the daughter of Odin, and then I was already communicating with Rhodan at the time.
Right, so that, I mean, if Sigrun is the daughter of Odin in the same way that Freya, which is another one of your
incarnations
is the daughter of Odin, so that, it still fits, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It does. So it all sort of came to balance, and I've had memories and visions and seeing some of the things that even happened to us. I think we were victimized, and I have a clear recollection of being in the Führer's or Hitler's presence and just having this kind of fear of watching what I had to say and being careful, but him, projecting himself to be this very, nature-loving, kind person, and still, that undercurrent, knowing that he didn't approve of certain things and that it wouldn't fare well. So I haven't really talked about this a whole lot, but there's a few people, I know who they are, that were part of the Vril, and we've had discussions. And so I'm not surprised that she came through. I'm surprised actually that it took so long for the Aldebarans to really come through and start talking to me, but I'm seeing that they're kind of coming in from another perspective, and that there is a possibility that the information that we gave was being misused in a similar way, that humans, look for power. We have all the free energy technology, but yet they end up using that to create bombs and weapons of destruction. So, it's what we're doing with it too. It's not 100% that these beings are sending us information. But it does halt things quite a bit, because if we don't have the consciousness to take the information and do the right thing with it, and instead, using it for the means of harming others, then that's where we're going wrong. This is the problem. So can't blame the ETs entirely. We need to take a level of responsibility. So anyhow, the second hour, I will be reading some of the channeled information that came through, and it's slightly cryptic. A little choppier than how I usually write, because I was doing the channeling. Someone else is taking the notes, and it's really hard for them to see exactly what I'm seeing, and it makes it a little bit more difficult, but, she did a fantastic job, and that's Amy Delgado, and she'll be joining us in the second hour. So,
I think she's got a great name.
She does.
It's got a really nice rhythm to it. So, it sounds like she would be a brilliant actress or something like that.
Yeah. She's multi-talented, and, she's a very, very, good person, and, a wonderful mother, and she's always very helpful to other people. So, what was the other thing that I was going to say about Amy? Yeah, I just slipped my mind, whatever it was, but she's going to be joining us. And, I'm really, she was Petra. If anyone was curious about how they remember her name, she played the role of Petra. So I'm going to have her read the role of Arasmus. when we do the channeling. So, okay. So I think maybe we could start with Andronicus, JP, if you're... Yeah. I keep thinking about the gardener, the expression of who you are. Can you tell me more about it?
I've done you a favor by replanting Venus. Hang on. All right. It's just seemed like... hang on a second. Aha. Hello. That's better. All right.
Yes. Do you want me to begin from the top?
Yeah. Give me a second. My mic has kind of dropped in its little holder here, and it knocked a couple of its own little built-in switches, which has changed the way it sounds, and so I need to put it back where it should be. Okay. Sorry about this. It's a day of false beginnings. False starts, little stutters.
It's Manic Monday.
It's Manic
How did I know?
Manic Monday. So, let's try again. I got a different keyboard, you see. There we go.
Oh, wonderful. I keep thinking about the gardener, the expression of who you are. Can you tell me more about it?
I've done you a favor by replanting Venus. It is lovely and wild, like you. The plants twine and entangle with brilliant coloured flowers like hibiscus, some of them electric, glowing and transparent. It was designed according to your nature, of course. No thorns. I removed every one of them, as they had been planting briars there for such a long time to cause you pain. Though the rabbit fares well in the briars, there are no predators in this environment, only rich, flourishing jungle. Tall trees where I can climb and observe from a higher perspective.
Is this within the planet?
No, it's from the 5th dimension. The trolls got a lift into the 5th and created a lot of destructive things there many, many years ago. Do you remember when you were Freya, Odin's daughter, and you were mortally cut and wounded by the quick shards that trapped you and your horse by the river? These were done by the trolls on Venus. In that incident you were drawn to your death, and your blood poured into the oceans while you dipped your leg into the water. Your DNA cast forth into the waters, and your death was violently painful. No one came to you. Odin was blinded to what happened and did not rescue you. Now he weeps to see what had transpired in truth. It is all done now. Water under the bridge. The effects have been properly neutralized. You were not the only one to have been forced to shed your blood on this planet, as well as other planets where they then crafted subspecies and created them to support the negative forces by using our DNA. All of it has been rendered null and void. Our DNA has been locked out of their system unless they are true children of our own consent.
Why did the trolls do that, and who gave them power to do that?
I can't say who did it. I can't say who did it to you, because they still live amongst you. Regarding the trolls, they cease to exist now. It has been proven that they don't have a purpose being here or anywhere. They have no regard for any. It will purge the entire solar system. They fueled and nurtured an environment of all negative factions. They were like a fungus, an unhealthy organism growing amongst all living things, corrupting all things with their toxic lack of consciousness. It is a poison set amongst the living, slowly killing everything that it comes into contact with. They were a death that survived and drew in all things as a black hole swallowing all to obtain another fragment of life to continue. They lived for millions of years in your time. They emerged from the primordial essence and should have been destroyed back then. Too much slipped out and became a living organism. I will assure you this did not happen during my watch. I suppose much of this occurred during my time of journeying. It's true, I'm a journeyman, but even more so, I'm most happy being the gardener.
Thank you for your work on Venus. I appreciate your kindness and commitment to assist us.
You are blessed for your effort to assist on the behalf of many. I will restore to you what was once yours and then some. Regarding Earth, I continue to plant and create a most momentous event to behold as is awaiting all of you who tarried this long journey in the path of light. The paradise will be awaiting you in the upper dimensions. Continue on. This is coming for you.
Okay.
That was very, very dreamy.
Yeah, it was. I think it's a carryover from last week when he revealed that he was a gardener. It's kind of, that's his most happy space, is planting, and I think it's just working with life. And I think he's very fragile, you know. He has this, when he has these encounters, it really causes these injuries to him. It's an innocence, and he doesn't do well with a lot of the destructive stuff, or he reacts very much so by it. Yeah.
Well, you know,
kind of a Pisces energy or something. You know?
Yeah, I get it. I really get it. And also, it reminds me also of Audrey. I mean, we've seen how sensitive he is, but also how he's got the ability to regenerate. And I think this is, people mistake immortality for invulnerability.
Right.
Because somebody who may live a long time doesn't mean that they are impervious to pain or torture or anything. I mean, you see it on TV all the time. You see it on TV shows people who are like Highlander. He dies 1,000. There's the thing, the more immortal you are, the more deaths you have.
I know.
It's not about lifetimes.
Through the pain, yeah.
It's how they ended. That's the major. That's the major bit. Oh, not this again. I hate this way. Oh.
And it's very true, because then the whole thing of dying, you forget, you come back into another life. Their problem is they die and remember everything. I don't know. I mean, which is better when you think about it?
I think sometimes, well, it depends. And again, going back to the Pisces and the Libra, the Libras enjoy forgetting things, so you can keep a clear mind.
Yeah.
If you have too many thoughts, you can't think too clearly, that's what happens. So that's only think of one thing at a time. And then if something new comes up, somebody says, oh, what about that? Oh yeah, okay, let's do that then. And everything comes up in its time. Mm-hmm. You don't have to work by a clock. People work by clocks, and people actually run better on their own.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's work going on at all hours of the day and night, so you never know. Yeah. You can always jump in somewhere.
There's always work to do. So, shall we, who should we go to see next?
Rhodan.
I hear the whisper of change in the air, the subtle breeze of an awakening across the skies. I'm here on your planet now, seeking and searching for others that I've long missed. My feet look old, but my step is young. There's a new road to the horizon, or have you missed the signs that led to darkness? I wonder why so many search for the harsh, long, tedious steps to serfdom.
Wait a minute. You're here now?
I'm moving through space and time, revealing myself to only a few who tarry long and hard upon this planet, and now their work is complete.
They must be your friends, for you to visit them from so far. You're returning to pick them up and bring them back with you?
Oh yeah, this trip is not for humanity. This trip is for my lost council that I have finished their task and proven their righteous ways to all who observe. Some must stay to finish the task. These 3, maybe 4, have tasted their own blood and sweet amongst the darkest nights of oppression. It is time for you to leave, my sons. Your burden is now over. They would not surrender, but we took their power. It cost you so much. I saw your faith weaken, but it cost you so much that I thought I might have lost you. I came myself to bring you back home. The dim light of your soul did flicker, and I knew you couldn't carry on any further. Take my hand, and we'll be gone with a blink of an eye. Teroth, Setau, Cherizaba, Seraph. Surrender no more to the wicked ones. We are valiant, not weak. We surrender to none.
I know you're not coming for me. My time is not complete yet here.
The time is not complete for many yet. The time is just beginning for some. For those who have tarried long, weary not. I am here as I have been here for you. Speak your soul to me and I will listen. Cheri Zaba. My heart weeps for what they have done to my children. I will come break the bonds that hold you forever.
I feel your love. We need your help. The white demons are all around us still. They are here to devour humanity. Please remove them from us.
They will be removed as if they never existed. Those who protected them will find their souls go with them. Come now, don't fret. They have no power over you. I know they torment your soul, but cannot lay a hand upon you. Their time is finished.
Can I ask where you are? Will I see you?
I am in more places than one. I see many in one glance. I hear thousands in one breath. In my mind, it is like a melodic song. I can bask here under a tree and hear your words as birds chirping beside me. You will hear me like a waterfall. I am to you living water. We are all one. Stay the midnight hour and listen. Light a candle and speak. Turn the page and open your hearts to the new sun. Ooh, meta.
Yeah. He's here.
Yeah.
He's here on the planet.
So, let's get this right? Trolls are primordial. Are they black goo? Is this the AI? Is that what he's talking about?
It's not AI. It's
No.
it's kind of alternate beings of the contrast.
Mm.
But what kind of like the goblins.
Mm.
They have doing their contrary work, and similar to the goblins, slipped up and somehow piggybacked up to the 5th dimension. I know people think this isn't true, but this is what I've seen them. I've seen them in places they shouldn't be, and they're very, very crafty and so old that they know all the little nuances and ways of doing things. And if you think that they're just like these, dumb creatures, you're really mistaken. They're very, very crafty and very deceptive and shape-shifting and have a lot of different abilities. And so, people talk about it as lore and they used to scare little children, with this stuff, but reasonably so, it's like the gargoyles. Where did they get all this stuff? These things exist. And, but they've also been, kind of contaminating and muddying up, a lot of what's been going on the planet here, and just really taking advantage of circumstances, especially with other species coming here. I think they've really had a field day. So, I had some challenges with that. And, also these white demon looking creatures, I think they're from off-world. They're not the typical entities that we know of. They're kind of white and horned and kind of very muscular looking. I feel that we're a food source for them. I mean, it could even be that they're the tall whites. I don't know, but I don't know if they're one and the same. But I told them, I'm seeing them around, and I don't know how to get rid of them, and they seem to be just very insidious and cruel. So, I asked for help with that. And so that's it. But he's also looking for those from the council. We mentioned the council earlier, and how there was a disbanding of the council. He went off to Alpha Centauri, and the council was working together, and then they came into a disagreement, or they decided that they wanted to go off in their own ventures and do things, implement some other things. Not all of it was in bad intent, but it was just more of a disbanding. And we've had this discussion before where people were confused. But anyhow, some of them had stayed here, some of them have incarnated and are doing the work. And he said that some of them really need to leave. It looks like they were really attacked and have had a hard time, and he's making sure that he takes them. So, of course, they will recognize him and they'll return home, but he's not here to rescue humanity at this point in that sense of removing them. But his being around, I think he's doing an assessment of what's going on as well. And of course, all this stuff that's going on too, these I think there was another shooting out in California today, and all these things that happened, the Stockholm incident, and some others were also something that I had mentioned to him. So a lot of this stuff just needs to end, but I think it starts with, we have the cabal, but there's so many different layers of the strata of beings that are existing, and one's feeling the fire of the other, and one's hiding behind the other. So you got a lot of this entangling going on in this contrasting environment. So there has to be this level of lifting and removing the tangles of these beings, and kind of deal with one at a time, I guess. But then there's that point where the humans and the other species are combined in a hybrid way, and that's when it becomes really tricky. Because what do? They're both.
This is going to be one of the, our issues. What are we going to do with all these half-breeds? And in the way, that's the problem we started out with. It was like, what do we do about the Anunnaki, who think they're supposed to rule over us, and yet they're no better than us?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's an interesting little thing.
Yeah. Yep. So, humans try to rule over each other. And, from my understanding, some of the royals had a mixing of some elven genetics, but still that doesn't make it right. But anyhow, the topic. It's sort of like, we already know that, don't we? But for some reason it continues on. And I wanted to mention too that there was a book that I found, or actually a friend purchased, and I happened to be browsing through it. I was drawn to it, and it was a book called "The Golden Age Fairy Tales" by Evelyn Whitell, and she is from Canada. I believe the book was published in Canada. And it's like a little fairy tale book. It looks like Vancouver, British Columbia. In the book, believe it or not, there is a character called Flower. It's a little girl. They call her Flower. And Flower is upset. She doesn't understand why humans are, there's an imbalance in poverty in the social strata. So she's sees the people are struggling, and I thought this is really weird. And in somewhere in the book is Jessie, just like Jessica. There was, that name, and there was just a few different things in here. And he also talks. One of the characters is named Builder, and I talk about the builders, don't I? So, interesting, right? Meetis. So we're coming up to Meetis right now, and I brought that up because he calls me Flower, and also that there may be a strand of whatever he's done and whatever this is said. So. Sorry,
the guitar is playing.
Clara.
Yeah. She's playing herself. Doing nice open fifths. Anyway, let's have a look. Meanwhile, back at... Hello, my flower. I see you found the book I sent you. Did you see your name in it? Do you fancy the fine writing? I did assist her, really. It's a wonderful story, isn't it, love? I thought this would cheer you up a bit, and you met Reginald and Amelia, too, from the I nearly got it. From the two Dedanan, the tour. Tour Dedanan. Yeah, the THA you don't pronounce. Okay, so I'll start again. I'll start. I thought this would cheer you up a bit, and then you met Reginald and Amelia from the Tour Dedanan. Oh, got it. They're here to help you open other channels of information. Many of the Dark Ones are finding their proper place in time, and I'm happy to declare this now. Your climb has been wearisome, but there is so much ahead, my dear. Tammuz is free, but without another loss. There was a trade or bargain. We'll see. They shouldn't take what isn't theirs. Rhodan will have the last word.
Yes, I was concerned that they were going to take Tammuz, but we all know the underworld never follows the rules. It is a collective of contrary elitist barbarians. I don't like dealing with their crude, horrendous behavior. It nearly did me in the last time I went there.
Oh, that's true, my love. They're a reckless bunch, stealing, killing and destroying. I don't fancy them either. Let's move on from them. It's not a topic that has any virtue.
I agree, but what should we do with their shenanigans and magical allurements to many?
I have an idea, but it should not be a crucible.
I agree, Meetis. This is something that we dare not partake of, or even dip our toes into. It's a murky space of clinging dark matter.
That's why they call you Black Dahlia, twice dead. Without telling you, you were twice revived as well. The soul could not be snuffed as they desired to do. Take me, for example. I jump back and forth as a rabbit. Nothing can hold me in place. They have no fortitude. No one has ever challenged them. They typically flee from them. Not I nor you have run from them. It makes them weary. I believe in due time they will leave a gap, and then we will expose them completely. I think we should take a crack at it, shall we? Meetis, what have you been doing? Stirring the pot once again? Ha ha ha, Dryden, don't be serious. We were merely daydreaming a bit. 'Tis an innocent dream to see them disappear like a grand magic trick. You know, she's not in your situation. Why would you have placed her at such a risk? I would never do such an unlawful deed as to put Suma in consequences beyond her measure. I would rather cut off my right arm or fingernail before I would allow something so terrible to happen. You see, I am a virtuous soul, truly. We have other means of disassembling the dark matter and the entrails within. I have a grand plan, but few know about it. I shall make you privy of my design if you remember to keep hushed in your mind. Really? You and me? A plan to remove the Dark Ones? Jolly good, Dryden. Oh, come now. Put your hat back on. We have a journey to take in the depths first. I see that some are looking into hijacking another one of our elements. The great depths and waters overseen by Ketriton. No, that can't be true. How can one take on the mighty waters of Catriton? They allure them. Allurement has brought down many civilizations. Many ships have fallen to plunder and kingdoms dashed by the seduction of one. You know, you have seen the secret parlours of lies and folly. Yes, Rhodan, I do. Tell me, where shall we go? When shall we go? I love a great trip. Oh, what shall I wear? We must go now, Suma. The Elven are watching you to make sure you are secure.
I hope you'll be careful, the both of you. It is an ugly view from down there.
No need to worry. We are on the most covert of operations. None can see our handiwork. Farewell, my sweet. Meetis, I will be back for you a second before the dime hits the ground and the dozen rises to the top. Very well. An ascot. I know I need an ascot for this journey. There, a fine white silk. Perfect. The shoes. Nothing could tidy these up.
Again? And you went through another pair of shoes?
Oh, yes, my love. I walk a bit too much. I fancy the earth beneath my feet come sunshine or shower. Hold on. Little boy, come hither. Fetch me a pair of shoes at the cobbler's. Here is a fancy gold piece waiting for you.
Sir, will you give me a fine dinner for my family? They asked me to gather some vegetables in the field for them, so we can have a meal today.
I will get you enough for a week. Move along now as the time is clicking away.
Thank you, sir.
He's a fine boy who will do great things. Did you recognize him?
Recognize him? No, I didn't, but he has a sweet soul.
It is Paul. Your friend Paul. I still watch over him, even though he thinks no one cares at times. I'm going to catch them and take them to task. You will see.
Thank you, Meetis. I've tried many times to help him myself.
So, here is a song for you. Let's see where that comes from. Days in and days out. Why do you worry? Why do you shout? I tell you the truth, keep your composure throughout. There will be a day of reckoning. There will be a day of talking. There will be a day where we all say that nothing is too shocking. I remember you well. I will help you, I promise to tell. The day will come, the day will go. I will make sure that all will know. Days in and days out. There is no worry round about. It is our job to clear the many dark ones humans fear. Too hard to harm them, but they live beyond your reach. There is something more specific, not so easy to teach. Days in and days out. Stay vigilant throughout.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mystery vibration, that one. That was quite
Yeah.
odd little thing. That involved, ladies and gentlemen, the flattened fifth interval. And also the cycle of fifths. That those chords were cycles of fifths, so they were not regular triad chords. So there we go. Quite an interesting musical expression there from Meetis. I have no idea whether the tunes that I come up with or the melodies that I sing have anything to do with the mood of what he does. I mean, does he sing to you? Does he just sits and sings a thing and you write down the words?
Yeah. I see him sort of. It's a little bit more. This was more melancholy than what he usually does.
Right.
It's sort of like how can I say it? It's more of a street entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
Considering the maybe laughter in between and just like a silliness.
All right.
The gestures. Obviously, all the things that you can't do while you're on the radio.
Yeah, it's trying to be. I have to be very carefree about it. So yeah. Anyway, that's a bit of my melancholy there, but it's quite interesting.
Yeah. So I know because you're not melancholy right now.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you what, he was all enthusiastic about leaving and going on a trip. So that cheers him up. Off to another adventure. So, anyhow, it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very beautifully done. Thank you. And we're, maybe going to break and let's see what we're going to play.
Well, you gave me a few here.
A few different ones.
What do we have?
So we're going to be dealing with Aldebaran, right? So we have, we got the Bangles, Walk Like an Egyptian, and Planet Claire from the B-52.
Oh, Planet Claire, that's right. That was one of them.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah, since we're going to Egyptians were from Sirius, I thought we would recognize them in the music scores.
So do you want the Bangles followed by oh God, I've forgotten it.
Whatever feels good.
B-52s, hang on.
Yeah.
Planet.
Whichever feels good to you.
Let's just see. Planet. No? Really? Oh, I thought I had it.
What's the matter?
No, I thought it was
you had
in
it queued up and ready to go.
Well, no, I thought I'd have Planet Claire pretty much in my, playlist archives, and no, Forbidden Planet samples. Never fear. So, there we go. There's one. I'm just running my search program here. And that is here, and it looks like B under B, B52s, Planet Claire, Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Listen very carefully. You can hear it coming in from space. It's coming in. You hear the communication between here and Planet Claire.
Planet Claire, which is Mars, right?
Well, it could be.
Planet Claire Mars?
It could be. I mean, it could be one of the 7 stars that shineth at 3:30 in the morning. You never know.
I don't want to let everyone know, but I've discovered that there is another dimensional planet right next to Mars.
Oh.
Oh. Saw it. Couldn't hide it from me.
Oh.
I was like,
Stay tuned.
I guess
Stay
they're
tuned.
doing things. Stay tuned. They're doing things and blaming Mars.
Go ahead now.
All right. Well, we are back and we're having a discussion about, actually, was it the Vril? And so I'm here with, we have JP, of course, and Amy Delgado's here. Hello, Amy. How are you?
Hello. Very well, thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah. So, I told everyone you are the voice of Petra, and today you will be the voice of Arasmus. So, we gave a quick overview of who Arasmus was. We started communicating with Arasmus, and for lack of, we don't want to bring in the other person that's involved in this. We're going to call her Jane or Jaina, and we're just going to leave it at that. But there was the few of us that were in the room, and I started channeling information over the I don't know how many weeks it's been. Has it been 6 weeks, 7 weeks?
Yeah, 6 weeks, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as we did that, well, one of them I think we were missing information from. Because we, as I think I channeled information for about 4 or 5 weeks. Was it 5 weeks maybe? And then the 6th one, we got to, channeling, and then you were typing up everything that I was saying in the conversation, in the dialogue that I was explaining as we were going along. And you looked at it, and a majority of the content just disappeared off your laptop.
Right.
And
Sometimes they call that error between keyboard and chair.
Okay.
So it could have been my error.
It could have been your error, but it was at the point where we said, and I asked her, are you from Aldebaran? And then we both got very anxious, and I thought, well, maybe out of nervousness, you dropped it, or something or they created a malfunction in the computer and just wiped it.
There was a disturbance in the force.
Yes.
That's right. It was right at the point where you caught the little white lie of not being from a certain planet, but being from Aldebaran. Or when you questioned that line of questioning, then she said yes. So, sometimes it's interesting with these beings when they channel information because, they let you believe they're from one place and then they're really from another, and then you just don't know which narrative to follow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was a little hard, and I actually could feel her get offended when we had our opinion or perception of her extremely changed at that moment. And I know that she didn't like that at all. And unlike some of the other species, I feel there's a strong emotional value in the way that their nature is, as opposed to some of the other species where they seem very almost detached and not emotional about what's going on or what's being said. So it was very interesting. So maybe we should just move along and read. Should we maybe start from the beginning? And
sorry, do you have one that's for January or February?
I think I have one for January. And there's the February one. Let me see if I can get the January one first. January 24th, is that the first one?
I think so. Yep. I'll pull that one up too.
Okay.
Can I just ask, Amy, you've got the chat room open. In the bottom right of the chat room, there's a little speaker icon. And if you click that and tell it never, it'll stop that sound. There it is. Thank you.
I'm just looking at the chat right now. It's so funny. Someone said, Aldebaran is not all bad. I don't think that there are some good beings there. Purple Wizard said that, which is Chaz, right? And then Paul has someone throwing up.
Yeah. No, but I think he's talking about chocolate-covered bacon.
Oh, okay. All right. It just sort of fit with it, but I don't. Yeah. Well, they really get onto these really strange food combinations in here sometimes.
Chocolate and pickle.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, and the pink moon.
Okay, so Amy, are you okay? Are you?
Yeah, I have January 24th, and is that the one where we were talking about a little bit about Marduk, and we were talking about the portal to Shangri-La and Talos?
Yeah. Yeah. You said there was something about Marduk and his appearance, and then Jessica described entering a portal to Shangri-La and Telos. and then beings pointed out in the space they occupy, there was a troublemaker amongst them. This being wore a black cape. He was retreating into a corridor. Jessica followed to see who the being was. She recognized him as Marduk. When she saw the backdrop of what looked like an ancient art slab impression in the likeness of the following links. It was found in a prominent museum, a Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. So he must have been local to us. There was this, link there. I don't know how to grab that link and put it. Since it was
that was the link that you find in the ancient Sumerian section. At the beginning of the section. And there's also that same big, huge wall. It's like a stone wall tablet kind of thing with cuneiform. And then the figure of him. And that's also in the New York Museum, the Met. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you described. And I had just recognized it from visiting those museums. And then I showed you the picture and you confirmed that it was that form that you saw. So.
Right. And then there was, I talked about a vision that I had earlier that week. Marduk had a black pixelated cape and it started to change into a gray cape. And then he was wearing, he was hitting some buttons on a control panel and he was intending to manifest things and what I believe was something destructive on the planet and humanity by hitting the buttons and controls in a control room. Then we spoke about a planetoid Ceres and Saturn, Ceres Ceres, and there was a connection discussed because it was leaked intel to expect Ceres in the news by an Army intel officer, which seemed to Amy that it was method by the Cabal to deceive the consciousness of attendees of a conference that you were at. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that was the first line of interesting business at the beginning of a class that I took for remote viewing out in Reno. I think it was Reno or Las Vegas with Ed Dames, Major Ed Dames. And so that was one of the key points that he brought up. When we start seeing Ceres in the news, be careful about watching for the solar flare activity. So it just seemed to put a lot of people into panic. You know, they're looking for their sanctuary location where they would have food supplies and, you know, backup electricity supplies, batteries, all that kind of thing, things for trade. And, you know, it just kind of created a little bit of hysteria, but at the same time, you know, I just wrote everything down and watched for Ceres to hit the news. And then there was also some information about a secret space program. Do you remember the story of Tony Rodriguez, who had been on Ceres for maybe, you know, many years, maybe more than a decade, and he was taken there as a child and then returned?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was also
interesting story.
Yeah, so that was interesting that he claimed that it was quite a German settlement there on Ceres. And he would go to a shopping market, you know, a supermarket, and see that, you know, there were women pushing baby carriages and there was a full colony in full swing there, according to this witness. So I thought that was interesting that Ceres, you know, was, you know, we were supposed to look for it in the news, and here it is.
So then it goes down to, so we were getting all these different clues and different things were triggering our mind to start putting the pieces together. And I know it's a little, cryptic in a way, but, you know, just maybe this is capturing or meaning something to some of you people that are listening as well. And then, Jane spoke of a dream while she was sitting with a loving mother and having a memory. And her mother was, the essence of her mother was a galactic mother. And, so then, then all of a sudden I started channeling and I got the name, Arasmus. So you can, Amy, if you would like to read that point.
Sure. She begins by saying to Jane, "Dear one, I am Arasmus." And she made reference to criterion and that a sonar belt was lifted from Sirius, beyond Sirius, I guess, which was the time of pre-Tiamat. So she went into a little bit of history. And she goes on to say, "My language is rusty. Your voice box was injured," speaking to Jane, the inceptor. "The inceptor cut back your expression, which was sending out a sound wave to help communicate. The Maldek system made all of our children suffer," referring to Jane as her child. "I've been searching to find those who would be agreeable. Your siblings do not remember. 12 sister and brother planets aligned. Many are awakened." So I'm not really sure what that means. What does that mean, Jessica? The 12 sister
that each one has their own planet, maybe a small planet elsewhere that were related to Erasmus's children.
Okay.
So there were 12 of them. Yep.
"Your journey should have been easier. It happened at the age of 6. Commonly, Marduk or Maldek interfered. Well, I don't know if I wrote Marduk or Maldek, but I wasn't sure which one it was. Are we talking about Maldek? Interfered. Marduk, the being Marduk, interfered using codes with 6, 9s, and 3s as a control system. We can break the system using 4s to lift the vibratory tone, locking in the system that has been used for millennia or more. You are," and then she speaks to Jane, and she gives her a name, a proper name. Katara, carrier of the sacred stone. I warn that not all are benevolent. Until the system is gone, you must be hidden. You have been checked on by allies. They would come, but your group was not allowed. Something about a disruption in the neighborhood. Everyone is in danger. None can trick us. We can come and be by the balance or counterbalance of the damage that they have done. Or we can counterbalance the damage they have done. And I go down a little bit. Mm-hmm. Erasmus continues.
Katara, I shall come to you, she said.
Katara, I shall come to you and you shall receive assistance and guidance.
And then I describe a thin, tall pyramid behind Jane during this part.
And then Arasmus speaks. Watchers will be assessed for not assisting when they knew they should. Somebody, I'm not sure who, must entrust the keys in your helper's hand. You'll be completed and retain the keys. In the end, Boliam will be gone and we shall survive. I must leave now. And I won't be very far away to observe you. Heliotrope essence under your feet to remind the inner earth workers where you belong. So a recommendation for an essential oil, heliotrope, was given to Jane. And, there was a Cadmus too. Do you remember that part?
No, I don't.
Cadmus. Cadmus has come to you and you are not awakened. He will, I will come to you. He will and I will come to you via dreams. And you have a baby sister that has just arrived. Thanks to all who assisted. Keep the group private until all are safe. So I guess
we are safe.
We're safe.
And I think Cadmus was probably one of her siblings, Jane's siblings.
I think
and
so.
Then I go on to describe a bell tower and ask if Jane is there in such a place in this town that she lives in. And then Arasmus says farewell.
Yep, she says farewell, my friends. Yep. And
then there's a part 2.
Yeah, she came back after we had discussed about the group and, just had, chit-chat amongst ourselves. And she continued, I apologize for holding off. Walk-ins were causing conflicts in the class. Jane was nervous because she was in danger. Jessica stopped a lot in order to introduce the new energy, which has been during 4 years. So this must have been going on for some time, right, Jessica?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We apologize for the relationships and the hardships. Well, this goes more into Jane's personal life, so I guess we don't have to read that. So she was really, communicating with her about the energy in her personal lives. And then she did comment on Maldek. The sun is in a better position. Maldek now faked the destruction and is masked or hidden in your solar system. We are taking down their centers as we speak. You will see powerful individuals disappear and no longer will have persuasion. And maybe the powerful individuals will accuse the Sinartans and Pleiadians. Is that what she was saying?
Yeah, I think that's what she was saying.
They will accuse the Sinartans and the Pleiadians. But it'll be a higher cause. We knew we could trust. And then I didn't catch what it was. I kind of ... question mark there.
I think what they're saying is that, we know who we can trust. The others will accuse the Sinarthans and the Pleiadians for certain things.
Okay.
So, all right. So then she goes on to say that you're an ambassador, and identify your connection also to them. They've been waiting for you to come to alignment communication.
Yeah, so that's interesting because when I
your
do
connection to it.
Yeah, when I do meditate, I get Aldebaran in my meditation. I hear that word, so I know there's work to be done with either beings from Aldebaran, or I need to clear energy from that relationship. I'm not really sure, but it does come up, and in the reading material that I read, it pops up in synchronicities a lot too. So.
And they said they broke the communication using sacred symbols to misalign. And in 4 days there will be changes, which that was way back in January. So if you want to read.
Do you want me to read where Capricorn 1?
Yeah.
Capricorn 1 is now on its way. We have 12 allies in your quadrants around the planet, engaged in the removal of a number of locks on the planet. No one can leak this to anyone until the security is released. The security of our fellow Laestians and other allies, Laestians, I guess. They can't hear you now. There is a void. We have different names. The place is Tassalia. Ornate people. Bejeweled.
Tassalia? Yeah.
How do you pronounce it, Jessica?
It could be either, I think it was Tassalia.
Tassalia. Ornate people, bejeweled, many stones. And then would you like me to read the language they spoke when they spoke these words? They read out some names, cento, or words, I'm not sure. Cento, quadro, centimo, helos, or maybe helos, chanteo, continue, laestra, tufonia, canapolar. And then Jessica, you would see.
And then I saw a lion there as a prominent symbol, which is, JP, isn't that's one of, you're resonating with the lion these days.
Well, I was saying that, there was a inner child fragment that I found who called himself Lionheart. So, that was quite interesting.
So then, Erasmus says the bad faction is gone, and then, Shantea is the daughter of Dronidio, and referring to Amy, which refers to Amy. Yeah. Was that supposed to be your name? That was your name?
Shantea, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's the first one that we have, and there's the second one. And so this whole time we don't know that we're talking to Aldebaran.
No.
We're thinking, oh, isn't this wonderful? Erasmus is talking to Jane, and they're connecting, and so then we, go on to the next one.
That one's, February 14th on Valentine's Day, actually. Mm-hmm. All right. So we discussed, we usually start with a discussion, and then Arasmus waits for us to have our, typical, my other phone is ringing.
Is that the bat phone?
Yeah.
Do you need a moment?
Meanwhile, at stately Wayne Manor.
She had a bad phone call. So, so JP, is this making a sense, or is this, I mean, it's really hard, because I wasn't typing it, so, she was trying to catch up with the channeling when I was speaking out what I was hearing, and then it was just hard to transcribe everything.
I need to get you a little digital recorder. They only cost about $15. And they can record hours and hours and hours, and the batteries will last. It's a brilliant little dictaphone.
Okay.
I'll get you one.
Okay.
Poor Amy, scribbling away.
Well, it's good that the kids are all at the town park, so that's nice.
Awesome.
It's the first day of good weather, really good weather, so.
I know, we've had a lot of rain and cold and snow and all that stuff.
So, as we were saying,
Meanwhile, at stately Wayne Manor.
That's right. Arasmus came back. All right, because she says to Jessica, Arasmus says, because of your diligence and attention, we are opening Stargate 7 for you, a line star system, a new way not accessible to anyone else since over 100,000 years ago, except for Jesus Christ, who was here as a visitor, allowing you to reset two things that cause sorrow on the planet. Okay, so she talks about 14 T lines can't be reset because of two kinds of beings. Timelines. She's talking about timelines here. That's my little short code for timeline.
Yep. Mm-hmm. In the SG7, it's not the typical SG7. It was a side door, and I have no idea why she brought up Jesus Christ. It didn't make any sense to me, but all right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, maybe she was thinking Christ consciousness, because we do talk about that sometimes, and to make it relatable to what we talk, But anyway, one type was a Borg encounter, valued time-space continuum, and it was a project of a multi-reality. The Borg aligns and latches on to the divine species, searching for progenitors to destroy them. It must be stopped, and have been unsuccessful.
So they were saying is that there is this being they're calling it the Borg, which is something that we've heard before in a lot of different storylines. But for lack of better words, I think they were trying to just, name it that way, and latches onto the divine species, searching for the progenitors and to destroy them. And she's saying it must be stopped. Up to this point, it has been unsuccessful.
Right, and this reminds me of when you were talking about when, you have these cyborgs that have human consciousness, but the human consciousness is really hijacked.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I get the image of when she talks about these Borgs. Then she says, we brought you to see what you could do, to see what you have access to, moving, shifting, recalling, remembering where things belong. We trust you can access this space. And 2 people I will trust to join you. The rest will not be allowed to participate. So I guess you'll get some help in this. The small few locked into this reality won't get harmed. The progenitors will be grateful. Then she mentions a second species. Do you want to talk about that one, Jessica?
Unknown species you haven't encountered yet. Yeah. You won't want to hear this yet. They're crafty, hidden, and they go into your future, and then they take over the timeline and reset everything, which alters free will, alters memory, and the Akasha and everything else, and all the species related known to mankind. And I said, what should we do? And how long have they been there? And
right. And she says 3,333 BC. That is the number you continue to see frequently. Or maybe she meant since 3,333 BC.
Mm-hmm.
Not the rule of Saturn. Not rule of
She's
Saturn.
talking about the number
precedes it.
3. Yeah, she's talking about
Okay.
the number
And have been
of 3 as well. But they entered in at that time period, probably particularly for some reason.
Okay, maybe it had something to do with the numerology of the control system that she mentioned earlier. And
Absolutely.
have been hiding the others and influencing. If you can find the 2 points and problems, you'll solve a lot of heartache. We foresee it does happen. Now, how is not clear yet, as the reality is not solid. It goes in and out of time-space. Temporal, we believe, not solid. No machine, a projection of these species and the Borg that creates chaos in the minds of those listening. And then we noted that the last transmission, we talked about the numbers 4 to, the even numbers opposed to the 369 control system and how that might come up again and how it came up here.
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
Because it's really interesting because it's all about music as well, frequency and stuff. And the music that is based on the relationship of the 2 and the 3 has this progression, which is what we call 432 music. And I'm going to have a round table about this at the end of the month. But it's all to do with Pythagoras and how he produced, frequency, understood frequencies in music. And that there are 369 applicant people. Now, it's really interesting that it's saying that 369 is a negative thing, whereas Tesla was saying if you understood what the mysteries of 369, you would know the universe. So, how do we balance that? You got any insights in that?
Well, he's talking about. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I think all of the numbers have their significance, but things the way that the usage of the knowledge, it's just like I said, we get ET technology or the understanding of free energy applications, and then we misuse it and use it for weapons of mass destruction as opposed to using it for the greater good. So the numbers themselves are just like anything else. They're just pieces of knowledge and insight in an application that actually produces something which is a neutral point. But how it is manipulated for an end result is where the problem is typically.
Yeah, and I was going to add that, in sacred geometry, the 3, 6, and 9 seem to work well with the sacred geometry Tesla refers to and when you read Tesla. But maybe now there's something different in a cymatic sense if you're looking at the Schumann resonance of Gaia, of the Earth. Maybe the 4 and the 2 fit more nicely with the sacred geometry of today. But that's just an idea to throw out there.
Right. Well, and then we come to the 4 numbers, right? Because again, I'm a computer guy, and the multiples of 2 and 4 and 16, 32, 64, these numbers are always, you always see them with computers because that's the number of slots that there are, and you just double it to get the next thing. But if you were to convert that again to frequency, you get the note of C. This is the middle note, the major note, and which is it's like the root note of music, because of course 2 is an octave above, octave below 1, and 4 is an octave above that, and 8, and they keep going.
That's good.
So everything is derived from 1 and C, and that's the first ray and the red note. And all of that. So anyway, there you go.
Very good.
Awesome.
And shall we continue on with Arasmus?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now for other issues not as great but important to me. I don't want Jane involved. She is not to participate. Okay, so she's basically just talking about further communication. I guess we don't need to go into all of that, but about something leaving an imprint. Something leaves an imprint in your field, in everything in our galaxy, and other universes. Do you remember what that was about? What that something was? Jessica?
No, I don't quite remember what that was.
We are supporting your actions and that we are a gateway, sort of. The human interpretation. Don't tread on me. Which was a cute little thing she added in there.
New
Don't
England
tread on
thing
me.
here, yeah. Yeah, well, she wanted us to relate to what she was saying.
The others who are aware of us will be kind and understanding.
I think she's saying that everything we do leaves an imprint in our fields, in everything, and even in our galaxy, in other universes. I think, what we're doing, we're leaving footprints of our energetic contribution, whether it's positive or negative, right? Or neutral.
Yeah, it has a ripple effect to everything. Our thoughts, our consciousness. Right.
All right, so this goes on to some personal stuff there. And then the next paragraph, we'd like to see this timeline more solid, referring again to the Stargate 7, which is some other Stargate. Okay.
There are many symbols.
Moving down to a
point. I guess, okay.
Yep. And then there's more personal stuff. And, so she's in the bottom, I think, we're preparing to speak to the progenitors, no time to lose, and then she steps away from the door, and there was almost like this, the door shuts with it's almost like a suction, like there was some kind of, seal that happens when it was closed. And then she leaves, and that's the end of that transmission.
Right. Yeah.
So now I'm on the February 21. Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to pull it up.
Okay.
Let's see. We're in March 21, right? March 21?
I see, I have February 21. Yeah, there's a group of 3 that you gave me. We did February 14th and January 24th, so.
Okay, so we have to figure out where to start with this one.
Because this is also personal information.
Yeah. But she does talk about opening 3 gates backward.
Okay. All right. Right there.
That part. So, let's see here.
Begin reading there then.
And also she talked about the shift. There's a shift that is undetected and undisclosed.
A certain number of you will know. Okay.
All right, so opening now the 3 gates backward, and then maybe you describe the wind and the energies that seep through that or maybe she's saying this, do not belong. The energies seep through that do not belong. This time, next Tuesday, you will feel the difference. She said the first wave is beginning. So this must be energetic, like solar wave, kind of. I'm thinking consciousness, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, she told us the date was February 21st, to record this date.
Yes.
And I guess something happened on that day, and it was a little, unusual. I remember it. And then she says, some souls.
Oh, right, because I had my grandmother go into hospice while she was, channeling. I had learned about it on my text, and then we were talking about that and how, some people will be ready to leave the planet. And we talked about how some souls should have left sooner. Their missions were completed. Not a sorrow for them, because they will be received with welcoming arms in a place much more loving. And that spoke to, my grandmother. And she did pass away within a few days after that, so. Shh.
The dog
comment,
is
Jessica.
then she talks about there's a vacuum of emptiness that many will feel. They have grown accustomed to that energy, those beings. They'll feel a loss, but they won't know what that feeling is. They won't identify what it was. And then she started talking about there will be a wave of confusion, an absent void. It is important that this is, and she doesn't want us to say this publicly at the time. Many will hold on to, for many would hold on to their pocket universes, if they thought that this would happen, or if they thought that something was going to change, they would hold on to those realities that they're accustomed to.
Yeah, that was interesting because you start to think about like all other timelines where other people have experienced different historical events in pocket universes or other pieces of other timelines, and that timeline manipulation. That's really something I was thinking about, like even, people who claim that World War II and the concentration camps all happened very differently than what happened in people's timelines that remember it, in our age group or in our demographic. That was interesting about the pocket universes or the pocket realities.
And then she goes on to say, did you want to read that, Amy?
So where are you?
There will be a vacuum of emptiness that many will feel.
Oh, yes. And they had grown accustomed to the energy. Those beings, they'll feel a loss energetically, but they won't know where they are. There will be a wave, confusion, an absence, a void. It is important that this is, that's when she said but it's okay now, right?
Yep. And I questioned who will leave, which species. And she said,
we are not saying that at this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some have made us confused of who they are. Some have inhabited bodies like attachments, not quite like walk-ins. Things might come up. Don't worry. The plans they had, they were not allowed to follow through. It's like finding plans to a war that never happened. It was intended, but we stopped it from happening. We're grateful that you're attentive now. The challenges are distractions to keep you less aligned with who you are. Things around you are more dangerous than you are when you are not aware. Now time has come to have peace. You don't like it when they lie and portray themselves as a light being. Soon they will be all gone. They will no longer be a burden or trouble to you. They will soon disappear. Another door is now closed. I'm going to go let Scout out. Do you want to?
I'll finish up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Scout doesn't like what we're saying. All right. So then Arasmus says, long ago, Jane, in another lifetime, and she starts describing what, where she lived and what her experience was. So we're going to probably move on to the,
So Jess.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Aldebaran. There's a lot of stories about Aldebaran, and you have memories of being on there. There are more than. So from what I've heard about Aldebaran is that there are like one planet where one group lives, and they're very elitist, and it's a sort of uber apartheid, and that all the rest of them have been moved onto this other planet without star travel. Is there any truth in that story, or is that just another story?
Well, you have to. What you're seeing here is they're putting their best face forward. They're talking very loving. They're being very nice, and this is a perfect example of how there's all different perspectives of different species. Now, some of them could do some really terrible things, but still, for their own people, they're very loving and very thoughtful. And so we're not, like I said, at this juncture, we have no idea who this is. We don't even know what's going on. We're thinking that these are benevolent beings from somewhere beyond Sirius.
So they say.
So they say.
They're somewhere. I'm from somewhere beyond Sirius. So, yeah, hang on, didn't somebody else say they were from somewhere beyond Sirius, or is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was Brad Johnson, who said he was from Sirius A.
I'm beyond.
And that's why.
I'm beyond Sirius. Yeah,
I'm beyond Sirius.
You know what I mean? Meanwhile.
Or beyond Sirius.
Yeah. So.
That's your show, those who don't know that.
So there's Brad.
Brad
Johnson, or Andronicus, saying, I come from beyond Sirius, or something.
Or from Sirius A, he said.
He's from Sirius
and
A.
I said that beyond Sirius is Arasmus, and do you know Erasmus? And he said yes. And funny little parallels we had there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, every time we meet with these other people who channel and do all these things, there's some sort of, and it's like, yeah, I know them. It's like, no. And so, but going back to, the Andronicus and Rhodan, he was talking about these members of his council. Wasn't he talking about some council members that went rogue? Have they kind of finally crashed and burned, and he's come to pick up their smoking corpses and bring them back and revive them and say, stupid twit, do you remember who you are now?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I mean, he's coming back. I mean, he's here now. I guess he's going to meet up with whoever he's supposed to meet up with, and I don't know how he does it. But, I'm hoping he comes to visit me. That'd be cool.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I see him etherically, but he doesn't ever, manifest in front of me physically.
And I tell you,
it'd be awesome.
It was a very emotional transmission that when I was reading it, particularly towards the end. It got really emotional. I don't know. Don't know if you could feel it. Some people felt it. I got some reports. Some people could really feel it, because I was close to tears when I was reading Rhodan's message today. So,
you could feel the energy in it. It was, I had no idea.
It's an energy of care and love that was really unexpected, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking through, we had, a visitor that came in by the name of Celeste, and there's a gentleman in our class by the name of Carl, and Carl had a dream, and he saw this, child, but it looked like an adult, face, but a child body, and I couldn't help but think about the Bene Gesserit in Dune.
Oh, she is an abomination.
But remember the little girl?
It is the Kwisatz-Haderach.
Do you remember the little girl? I mean, this
so that's what she says.
This is what you think of,
Yeah, that's what she says.
He is the Kwisatz-Haderach.
And so he literally falls asleep, cause he God love him, he's taken in his 3 grandchildren and he's raising them, and, he lost his, son, and, we just adore Carl. He's a very, endearing individual. And, so he's, sometimes he gets a little weary and he comes and just kind of deflates and gets, those stresses release, and we do our meditations, and then, but he has moments of very, psychic, moments, and he, saw this woman with this child in a vision, and she said that this is where we identified this woman by name of, Celeste. And then there was another, Antonato was the child, the female, child that had the older woman's face. So, or that level of maturity or expression in the child.
Wow.
So, I know, isn't it weird?
Yeah.
So like, he had no idea. Of course, he's never watched Dune. He has no idea about any of that stuff. So when I said, wow, that is really weird that, he's talking about this child that looks older. And so then, I don't know if, are you back yet, Amy? Is she here yet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Do you remember that when he started talking about Celeste and we got the name Antonato?
Yeah, because, the names are really sounding familiar in Italian, right? They're Italian women's names.
Yeah.
And he's Italian, so.
We were like, what's going on? And he explains them, right? And we started laughing, and
Because he said it's like a girl, but not like a girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Kind of like
she was
unusually mature.
Yeah, and Jessica said, is it like a woman with dwarfism? Yeah.
He wasn't sure. He didn't know how to put it into words, but he liked them. He said they were really nice to him. And, when he woke up, he was like startled, like, I just had these people were here. And he described them wearing robes, and it was interesting. So, so we have a conversation with them.
So Celeste is the first speaker. Do you see that?
Yeah.
On March 7th.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So we understand.
We are noticing the stars and constellations are changing.
Okay.
And then Antonato says, do you see that part?
Yep.
Do you want to read that? Antonato?
Sound has caused a degree of great fright and concern. So she said, sound has caused a degree of great fright and concern. You realize what you are doing, talking to me. We don't know what it will be. You're at great risk if all the stars are rapidly changing. And then I asked, are you sure this is an issue? And then Celeste said,
we understand you have a great deal of trust. Naive at times, you are not realizing how you are impacting the upper atmosphere. It is harder to find those on the planet. There are empty spaces, open gaps. We'd like to know.
I'm not sure when it will end. Things are not that way. It will all be in the proper place and time.
And we know that these things can be done so quickly. Time, space are fluttering. Common devices are having trouble. We feel alone and isolated. Does it need to go this fast? We are hoping to not fall out of alignment with our usual transport along with the stars.
And then I discussed it with Shiva, and he feels that it should be gathered and shouldn't be a problem. And the time is of the essence.
And Celeste was kind of questioning going on. I'd like to have some confirmation of Shiva that we are secure, not at risk, as other species have been. I don't know if he agrees or not, but those of benevolent light should be preserved. We can help facilitate your work, if Shiva wills it. We can assist rather than save the rapid change. Or we can assist rather than have the rapid change. Much of that time is not recognizable to us and other species. Despite negative orientation, some other species will be caught.
Are you implying that some of you are not whole?
No, our essence always returns back. We wanted to feel in control. We just heard we can assist you if we stay in the proper parameters and to help humanity along and move along more rapidly. We interfered in the wrong way. We must apologize for what we have done to help.
I don't want to bring in the names here.
Okay. To help facilitate humanity to the proper plane. We can adjust timelines to the proper place. We will go back further in the background and have less involvement. And she said most of the something was encouraged by us, but I'm not really sure what she was claiming to have encouraged people to do, but something there that I didn't quite get.
Most of the I think she's saying the assistance was the change was encouraged by us.
Okay.
So then, and then talking about Rhodan.
And she says he has to resolve his issue on his own, in his own private space. No more interference. The council has information that is very crucial to survival of the planet. We feel it's best if we are deeper. I think she meant more deeply involved. Deeper involved. We thank you for your time. And she also said that Arasmus was ill. Arasmus is ill. She had to disconnect for now. She was not herself. We came as ambassadors for Arasmus.
And I said, sorry to hear that. I apologize. It has caused discomfort. So they're saying that some of the shifts or movement of time was happening, it had changed, and it was affecting them. And then Celeste says,
We understand. We accomplished what we wanted to do. Sure, it will cause a rapid recovery for Arasmus, and she'll be able to come again. Our presence will assist you in your mission. Others will see you. Sorry about the Council of Arcturus. Many will be sent away. If they continue, they'll never be able to thrive. The door is now open. The last portal that was causing trouble. And then she says farewell on a personal nature. And she says, we are ready for our next adventure. Lead the way.
All right, so we are not fully at the point of her bringing up. I'm wondering if we need to resume this in next week. And
yeah, maybe
we have a few minutes away from the end of the show, and just letting people know some of the how the conversation transpired, and then she starts to get into some other things, admitting that they're from Aldebaran. So we'll have to do that next week.
Stay tuned for another episode. So yeah,
of Arasmus.
Arasmus. What?
Arasmus
WTF. So, thank you very much. I've got to run off in a minute and prepare for Strange Universe, which yes. I'm giving all by myself. But I'll be speaking with John Smarty Mendez from the Hologram people. So I'm going to figure out how this hologram stuff works. Me for the people. All right. Thanks very much, Jess.
Yeah. Thank you, JP, and thank you, Amy, for being a wonderful guest. And we appreciate everyone in the chat room. Thanks for listening in. And we love you guys. See you next week.